If you do have questions that you'd like submitted, would you take them to Marianne Yeager up here? And she will get them to me at some point. So we have a super great crowd here. Thank you guys for coming. There are a few seats still up in front if you want. So come on up. There's 3 right here in front, and then I think there's one over there, right? So don't hesitate to come on up and sit down. Thank you guys all for coming. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could all stand. Stevie Ann, you want to lead us since you're way back there?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There is another seat up here that I think is open. Is that one by you, Bill? Open? Is that seat right there? Bill. Oh, and there's one by Dustin. So don't. Barb, you want to sit up here? There's a seat. Okay. All right. Find a seat if you want a seat. Thank you guys all for coming. Again, we really appreciate the crowd. But most importantly, we appreciate these candidates that are willing to run, that are willing to put their personal time aside in order to serve our community. And I just want to say thank you to you guys, because it is a big deal. You're putting yourself out there on the line, and we all do appreciate it. I know a lot of times it can seem chaotic and crazy and a thankless job, as I'm sure those of you who have served know, and we do appreciate it. It is the reason we're having this forum is to inform the public so that people know what's all going on, and we're hoping to get your stances on various issues. We won't touch all of the issues, but we do ask that you respect the time limits. For the most part, the beginning set of questions are going to be 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to answer. I'm really hoping you don't take the full 3 minutes, because we're going to be here till 9 o'clock at night if you take the full 3 minutes. So feel free to not take all the time, but you're welcome to. And if you feel like you didn't explain your position well enough, don't hesitate to go to the Republican Party's Facebook page and answer questions maybe in more detail if you feel like you got cut off or you need to say more. Let's be respectful and listen and learn from each other. Different points of views are always the best way to see the actual realities. So for these first set of questions, there are going to be 4 questions. You each have 3 minutes to answer, and we're going to just go in order. Each of you will start with a question as we go through. I'm going to sit down. You guys don't need to film me, man. Oh, it is a good idea to turn off your phones. Thank you. Okay. Are we ready? Marianne's going to give you 1 flag for 30 seconds left and the double flag for stop.
Need a gavel? There's a gavel.
I think you guys will be respectful. I'm not worried about it. Okay. So the first question is pretty easy, and it's just we're going to start pretty light. So we'll start with you, Bob. What motivates you to run as county commissioners?
Well, what motivates me, I've been very involved with the community. Many people in town know me. I'm pretty controversial with school board issues, fighting for the kids. And I work with the 4-H group as the chairman of the shooting sports program for quite a few years. But I want to be more involved. I see issues in town. I see the population of our community. I think Hot Springs County runs 29% seniors over 65. And I'm concerned about taxes. I'm concerned about spending. Some of the spending issues I see going on in the county, both on the county level, school level, federal level, state level, I'm not comfortable with. And I think we all need to take a stand, and that's my way of taking a stand, is running for the county commissioner to hold people accountable for spending and for financial issues. They have responsibility, they have accountability. And I think that's my biggest concern now. I want to make sure we can keep the taxes in this community at a level that the community can afford. So that's my biggest concern, and growth is the other issue. I came from an area where we saw little towns grow too fast. And I saw what happens when a town grows too fast, how it affects the locals. And I think this community would really be affected if we're not managing our growth logically. So that's all.
Super.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, well, you know who I am. I've served this community for over 50 years. I was a policeman for 43 years, two terms as chief of police. I ran for mayor and was elected mayor and served one term as mayor. And what I see here is a lot of what Bob has already discussed is the budgets and the taxes and our senior population here. We've got to be careful of our senior population because the majority of the Hot Springs County are seniors. Now we've got to be careful what we do with our taxes and how we spend our money. So I'd like to take a good hard look at budgets and work with all of our county entities on their budgets to see if we can't trim those a little bit, to keep it from costing our taxpayers money. And my point is that this community has given to me for 50 years, and I just want to continue to give back. So in that aspect, I want to make it clear that if I do get elected, I don't intend to take any wages or compensation from the county at all. This community has served me, and I'm going to serve it.
Joe?
Well, thank you all for being here. I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity, you know, with the freedoms that we have to be able to do this. And, you know, I've served in various capacities in this community as school board member, fair board, in my church, on that board as well. And, you know, I feel it's important to continue to give back to the community, to stay involved in the community. There's things that I've seen, you know, over the years that I would like to try and bring positive influence to. Property rights. You know, we all have property rights, and, you know, whether it's from federal government, local government, doesn't matter. Infringement on those rights is not okay, and we need to go through the right processes in order to make sure that those rights stay in place. I've truly enjoyed living here in Thermopolis. We've been here for almost 20 years. It'll be this fall. This is the only town that my kids have known, and you know, I want them to. We decided then we wanted our kids to grow up in one community, and this is the community that we chose. This is a wonderful community. It gives back to the people through various charity events. I've never seen such support in any other community I've been in. This community supports itself a great deal. So anything that I can do to give back, I will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Oh,
What was the question?
what motivates you to run for county commissioner?
So if I get reelected, that will be serving my third term as county commissioner. I'm the only incumbent. A lot like Mike, I'm a Wyoming guy. I've lived in Wyoming my entire life. Moved to Thermopolis, a lot like Joe, about 15 years ago. I don't have an axe to grind. I don't have an issue that drives me to be a county commissioner. I think this is the absolute best place I've ever lived. My daughter was born in the same hospital room my wife was born in, at Thermopolis County Hospital. It's just the best place. I have sure enjoyed being a county commissioner. 99% of what I do as county commissioner is enjoyable. There's 1% sometimes that's not always fun, but that's part of the job. So I hope to have your vote, get reelected, and continue to serve Hot Springs County again.
Thank you guys. All right, next one. Mike, we'll start with you on this one. So, often we hear that the county commissioners do not have a lot of power in the county. So what are the responsibilities of a county commissioner, And of those responsibilities, which do you consider the most important?
The responsibility, to me, the responsibilities of the county commission are to listen to the people and listen to what ideas and concerns the people have, and do the best we can as county commissioners to fix those problems or make this a better community. But we can't do it without, if the people don't tell us what's going on. And as a county commissioner, we have to keep open ears, open lines of communication so we can find out what's going on from the people. Because if we just come in here as three sitting county commissioners and discuss stuff between ourselves, and the people don't find out about it, or we don't hear from the people, then the commissioners get done what they want done, but we don't know what the people want done. So to me, I think that as a sitting county commissioner, I think that it's open communication, and we need to open those lines of communication so we can do what the people in this county want done.
Joe? And
So-
if you want me to repeat the question, feel free to ask.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yes.
So I believe that the power in any elected official is in their vote. And that vote is reflective of the people that they're serving. For the commissioners themselves, really utmost important is fiduciary responsibility, because of the money that comes in, the funds that are generated, how they're generated, and they have to work diligently and closely with the other elected officials of the county in order to make sure that one, you can't overspend, two, that it's spent responsibly, and that they're doing what they can to help this community grow in any way that they can.
Thank you. Phil?
What was the question?
Often we hear that county commissioners do not have a lot of power in the county. So what are the responsibilities of the county commissioner? And of those responsibilities, which do you consider the most important?
Sure. So I think the job of county commissioner is constantly not quite understood well. We are elected officials, the same as the sheriff and the treasurer and the assessor. So we're not overlords or governors of the county, and all disputes are resolved at this level. That's not the case. Each individual elected official is in charge of their respective office. However, the county commissioners do take care of a lot of things where there's an appointed director. For example, we take care of all operations at the airport, road and bridge, courthouse maintenance on the entire campus. That includes search and rescue building, the Carnegie Library, the museum building is owned by the county, the senior center is owned by the county, this building, the courthouse. We're also in a partnership with the state to take care of public health. That's on the other side of this annex room here. We're also in charge of emergency management. We hired the emergency management coordinator. We also are proud to run the Youth Alternatives Program, managed by Barb Rice, who is it's a diversion program for underage kids that have a bump with the law. And that program works really, really well, and we're very proud to have it. Other places in the state emulate Hot Springs County Youth Alternatives. And the county planner is also one of those folks that works for the county. Unbelievably, the county does not get to set anybody's taxes. That all happens at the state level. So when the legislators come up, you can chew on their butts for the taxes. We merely just have to enforce what the state law says. Specifically in statute, it says the county commissioners shall approve the mill levies, that's part of your property tax, that funds special districts, like the fire district. The fire district is seen as a political subdivision. They're almost the exact same, on the same playing field as the entire county is. It's a special district that the people have decided to put into place. So we can't tell them what to do any more than anyone else can. We can attend their meetings and jump up and down as a constituent of those. And I would recommend that if you're unhappy with some special district stuff. I don't think there's any one part of being a county commissioner that is the most important. Obviously, talk about budgets. The county does set, with the help of the clerk, the assessor, and the treasurer, set the county budget. And that's where we just make sure that everybody is using the money that we have to operate the county effectively.
Thank you, Phil. All right, Bob, you get to kind of cheat on that question, just so you know.
Phil did a great job of covering the duties of the county commissioner. Joel that touched on it. I believe the financial responsibilities, fiduciary responsibilities are our number one concern. The boards, various boards around the county will come to the county commissioners to get their budgets approved, get their spending approved. The county commissioners will yea or nay, ask for adjustments, ask for whatever needs to be done. So they do monitor what goes on in the county as far as spending. I think that's a primary one. There are other issues going on. Land use is a big issue right now in our community, and that's an issue. Private property rights is a big issue in our community right now. So I think other issues other than just paying bills, but you know, if you had to do it in layman's terms and it's just a real, throw it out there, we just say, yeah, well, most of the time we pay bills. Most of the time we pay bills. But then there are the other 1%, like those things that are not so comfortable to work with, and other things that the county commissioners do need to engage in. Takes responsibility. We need to be open to the community, open to input from the community. I see a lot of meetings that you're not allowed to give much input. I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see the community more involved with the county commissioners. And I would like to see the county commissioners more involved in the community in both ways.
Thank you. All right, Joe, number 3. There were multiple property tax reduction bills that went through the legislature this past session, and currently there's a property tax initiative for the people to vote on. What effect will these bills and the initiative have on the county?
Financially, it could have a negative effect. You know, all of everything that's currently funded, you know, they're gonna have to figure out how they can operate on potentially reduced budgets, and what that's gonna look like. You definitely don't want, you know, to have to go through a RIF or a reduction in force. You know, that our county employees are part of our community, and they're important. You know, they help the county and the government get things done, and there's a lot of responsibilities in each of the departments of the county. So that's probably one of the biggest downfalls in reduction in property taxes. And you know, really with property taxes in Hot Springs County, I think, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, roughly about, I think 20 to 30% of county funds come from property taxes. The rest of it is minerals. And so we're a heavy, you know, mineral taxed county. So we rely a lot on that. So exactly how much, you know, it might affect funding and various entities throughout the county, I don't exactly know, but it will definitely affect budgetary issues in the county, and we have to keep that in mind. Was there another part to that?
No, that was it. Thank you. Yeah, no, we got it.
I wrote it down, I got it. So, the property tax initiative, if it's passed, would reduce, property tax primarily. And property tax is the way that local entities are funded. We could talk about mills and how that all trickles down. Sometimes that's confusing. Special districts receive up to 3 mills. The hospital district, the fire district can receive up to 3 mills. The county operates on 12 mills. The school district gets close to 24 to 28 mills. The reason the school is funded like that is because it's written into the state constitution. When they built the state of Wyoming, they said education needs to be important here, so we're going to make that part of the Constitution. I don't have a problem with that. There's been other folks that say, well, why does the school get so much? We should have some of that. I think that's a fair fight to poke, and I wouldn't recommend that. If the property tax initiative passes, it will affect the county budget undoubtedly in a negative way. I don't have the exact statistics. Joe was talking about how minerals pay a lot of tax here. A lot of that is severance tax that goes to the state. Part of that comes back. But Merit Energy is the largest sales or property tax payer in the county. They operate on a lot of land. Wyoben operates on a lot of leased land, but those industries that we have very few industries in Hot Springs County. We don't have the can factory or the sugar beet plants. Some of those neighboring towns do. So the industry we have is oil and gas and some of those minerals, bentonite and such. It will affect us drastically as well as the schools and the special districts and anybody that receives any of those mill levies. I understand property tax was a super hot item, and I hope we can talk to the legislators who did their absolute best. The 4 bills that the legislature passed this year all had a backfill, which meant the state was gonna make the county whole for those dollars that they passed bills to relieve the taxes. So the state was helping us out in this last session on the 4 bills that they did pass. The property tax initiative is a referendum that'll be on the ballot. Everybody gets to choose if enough votes get, then that'll just go into place with no state backfill. So that will definitely affect us. The reason property tax are in everybody's mind is because the value of everybody's land went up. And maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm just a young guy, but the reason my property tax went up is because my land is worth more. So when I ever choose to sell it, it's worth more, so that's the bright side. I'm not in favor of the property tax initiative.
Thank you, Phil. All right, Bob.
Okay, well, I have a little different numbers than my associates here. The residential property tax is a very small portion of the amount of money that actually comes into the county. But primarily, 75% or more comes in from oil and gas, from industry. So the residential property tax is a very small portion. Will it have an effect in the county? Probably so, but I would say it would be minimal. There's nothing wrong with telling a lot of these groups that you need to tighten your belt a little bit. You need to work more efficiently. You need to spend less money. If you don't need to spend it, don't spend it. The old days where you had a budget and you always said, God, I've got to spend it all or else I won't get that next year. So they just blow the money. Those days are over. We need to be tight. Residential property tax initiative is a good thing. We have 29% of the people in this county are over 65. I would say most of them are probably on fixed income. This will help them tremendously, tremendously. And it will not affect. We'll still get our roads plowed, we'll still have our police department, we'll still have the sheriff, we'll still have all the amenities. But yes, they will have to pay more attention to how they spend their money, how they do business. We all need to do that nowadays. We all need to be smarter.
Thank you. Mike?
I think Bob pretty well covered that, and I feel kind of the same way. That I think that I am for it because, you know, there's the tax reduction. We're gonna have to tighten our belts. And when I talked about budgets, that's what I said, that's what I mean. We've got to tighten our belts. And that means everybody. But by tightening our belts and that tax reduction, it's going to help our senior citizens and our people that are on fixed income in our county. And that's why I want to run for this office. Because I want to help the people in this community get along with what we've got. So the reduction in that tax is going to help our community. We're going to have to tighten our belts a little bit to make it work. But I think we all have to do that. Times aren't like they used to be. We don't have all of the minerals and oil field stuff that we had here when I first came here. This town was booming when I first came here. We don't have that anymore. We've got some agriculture, we've got some oil field people, we've got wild men, but we don't have that boom that we had once before. So we're gonna have to start tightening our belts to figure out where this money's gonna come from and how we're gonna spend it and spend it wisely.
Thank you. All right, Phil, the last question for this series of questions. Currently a hot topic in Hot Springs County is property rights. The Fifth Amendment of our Constitution specifies that the government cannot seize private property for public use without providing fair compensation. Additionally, the 14th Amendment states that nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. How do you see the regulations around private property changing over the next few years in Hot Springs County?
How do I think that property rights issues are changing? So in Hot Springs County, we have adopted a land use plan and regulation. That is the governing document that we use for changing classifications of land from agriculture to commercial. Ultimately, it is a form of zoning. And as a red-blooded, freedom-loving Wyomingite, I don't really love the idea of calling it zoning, as in only this can be built here or only that can be built there. We have the land use plan is a very appropriate document that we have adopted in the late 70s, and it's been modified only once or twice, to my knowledge. I don't think that private property rights in the future are going to get squished by any means. I believe what the Constitution says, both the United States Constitution and Wyoming's Constitution. That's what I took an oath to uphold when I became the county commissioner. We have a plan, and we use that plan to regulate use. There is obviously a situation that we think we're probably all aware of a land use change that wasn't approved, and the individuals who owned that land and operated that business that has been called illegal continued outside of the plan because they didn't think it was legal. So they took it to the judge, and the judge says, well, yes, that is a legal plan under Wyoming state statute. County has an opportunity to regulate that land, and their plan is legal. And then the folks that were upset with that decision decided to sue us and said that we were arbitrary and capricious. The judge did a bunch of work on that and came back and said, no, I uphold their decision that they made. They weren't arbitrary and capricious. That's an ongoing lawsuit, and that's that 1% that I mentioned that my job as county commissioner has not been enjoyable, is dealing with that one issue. I don't think it's a private property rights issue. I think it's a following the rules issue. We have rules, and that's, we're trying to just uphold our rules.
Bob?
Well, I think the land use plan that we have has got some faults.
Okay, so the question is, how do you see the regulations around private property changing over the next few years?
Rights around private property is part of it. I think that we need to go back to our Constitution. Part of our Constitution is we have a right to own property. We have a right to try to support and feed our family. But we have a lot of ranchers in here. If we came and told you you couldn't grow hay anymore because we didn't like it, or you didn't say Mother Mayo, we have a right to do that as county commissioners. No, we don't. You have a right under the Constitution to try to have a business on your property, to try to earn a living, to support your family. And I think the laws have changed to the point where we're infringing on that right now. And I think it's going to get worse if we don't step in and take a stand. And we do have a right as individuals. We do have individual property rights.
Mike?
I think we have individual property rights, and the Constitution makes that pretty plain. That the government can't take it away from you unless they have go through the proper procedures. They can't tell you what you're going to do with that property unless they go through the proper procedures. And I think that the county planning plan has got some faults, and it needs to be updated, and we need to go through that again and figure out where those faults are and where the problems are to make that so it's more, what's the word I'm looking for, so that people understand it. So that we're not confusing people by a bunch of legal gibberish, so that when we communicate with people on what they want to do with their property and then explain to them that this is what the plan says, they understand that, so that we're not getting into the same situation that the county's in right now. Because I think that, and I'm not real familiar with what's going on there, but I think that could have been settled had the commissioners and those folks come to the table and sat down and said, what do we need to do and how do we need to do it?
Amen.
Thank you. I think that could have been settled far beyond where we're at now with that. Because those folks own property, and the commissioners have a plan on what they would like to see done with some of the property they have. Okay. Thank you.
Joe?
So, really, the changes in property use over the next 4 years is really gonna be determined by the commissioners that are in place. And, you know, if you want change, then you're gonna have to vote in that change. And you have to be willing to be open-minded, take a look at each individual situation. And yes, there are processes that people should go through. Yes, there are, the whole reasoning for determining whether land is agricultural, commercial, or residential is strictly for property taxes purposes. Because you're taxed based on what you're doing. So commercial property is gonna be taxed more than ag property and residential property. So that's how the counties are gonna, or even the towns themselves, there's restrictions in town that, you know, there's certain areas that are residential, and if you wanna operate a business outside or out of your home in that residential area, you have to go through the application process in order to get it approved. Because that gives those close neighbors, and then, you know, the benefit of being outside of town is you don't have that close of a neighbor. You know, those close neighbors can say, I don't approve of this. And it's essentially the same process. You know, people have to have the opportunity to say whether or not they approve of the business. You know, we've had Airbnb issues over the past few years where, you know, that's kind of where this whole lawsuit kind of stands, and it's included the Airbnb process for businesses, and, you know, restricting those. I mean, why should we be restricting business? We need to be promoting business growth in our community, because that's what's gonna help us continue to grow and thrive. And I mean, otherwise we're gonna continue to shrink and shrink. We're losing population in Hot Springs County. And it's slow, but we're losing it. And if we don't have the businesses that we need, then we won't have the people to support those businesses, and they're gonna go out. So it'll have a negative effect if we don't work with our citizens in order to try and do what's best for our community and for the people involved in those businesses.
Thank you, Joe. So that concludes our first round of the long-winded questions. The next ones are gonna be the lightning round. So we're gonna beg you guys to stick to like 1 word or 2 words. And like I said, if you want to explain yourself further, feel free to do that on Facebook or in person or however you want to do it. But I know it's going to be hard, but I have 12 questions, so we're going to roll through these pretty fast. This round we'll start with Mike, since we started with Bob on the last round. Again, so it's like 1 or 2 answers, so 1 or 2 word answers. All right. So Mike, should our elections be controlled by local, state, or federal authorities?
I think our local elections should be controlled by our local people.
Local, that was his 1 word. All right.
Local.
Local, the clerk.
Clear.
Local.
Local, all right. Now this one's to Joe. So that's how we'll try to do that. Okay. Should we implement policies to reduce climate change, reduce energy usage, and increase renewable energy production?
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
Oh, I gotta keep track of where I'm at. All right. Phil, do you support measures to prevent gun violence, which includes universal background checks, restriction on assault weapons, and preserving gun-free zones?
It's like 3 questions and they're not all yes or no's. Ask the 3 questions again and I'll give you my answer.
Okay. Do you support measures to prevent gun violence,
Yes.
including universal background checks, restrictions on assault weapons, and preserving gun-free zones?
No.
Okay. Bob, do you support measures to prevent gun violence,
Yes.
which includes universal background checks, restrictions on assault weapons, and preserving gun-free zones?
Absolutely no.
So, okay, this seriously needs work. Okay.
2 words.
Mike,
You said 2.
you want me to ask it again?
Please.
Okay. Do you support measures to prevent gun violence,
Yes.
which includes universal background checks, restrictions on assault weapons, and preserving gun-free zones.
No.
Yes to the first, no to the second.
Okay. All right, I think you guys all kind of took cop-outs on that, just for the record. All right. Okay, for Bob, to you. Where do governmental leaders derive their authority from?
The people.
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 People through elections and the Constitution of Wyoming.
Okay, 5 is to Mike. Is liberty divisible from economic freedom? So can you separate liberty from economic freedom?
No.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep. No.
They are very complementary. They go together.
Say no.
Okay. All right. Joe, should the government fund childcare?
No.
Maybe.
No.
No.
7, to you, Phil. Do you support equitable distribution of funding to share mineral royalties and severance with Wyoming counties and municipalities? Do you need further?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm asking here is, should we put all the money into one big pot and then equitably distribute it out to all of the counties?
In some things, they do that now with education, but not with paving of roads. Sublette County and
So
our-
should we or should we not? That's the question. You can say it depends, I'm okay with that.
maybe.
Okay.
Say no.
No.
How much time do I have to think?
One word.
No.
Okay. All right, this one is to Bob, number 8. Do you support government funding for school choice?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
All right, number 9. Agree or disagree? The new transfer station is a good idea, and it is to Mike.
Yes.
Not a yes or no question, in all honesty. It depends.
Yes.
No.
Number 10, to Joe. What is one area of growth that we need to see in Hot Springs County?
Local businesses.
College campus presence in Hot Springs County.
Every Joe, local businesses.
Every local business.
All right, number 11. All right, this one's to Phil. Do you agree with the newly formed Water Joint Powers Board?
Yes.
No.
No.
I don't know, because I don't know enough about that one yet.
Bob, the last lightning round question. All right. In one word, what is the most important issue for the county for the next 4 years?
Growth.
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 Economic development.
Super. You guys, I really love how you differentiated each other. That was really good. Thank you guys for doing that. I know that it's a challenge. I should have had somebody else lining these up. Do we have any other questions from the audience? No more questions? Some questions? Okay. So the audience was allowed to give us questions, and we were gonna ask one for each person. So This isn't gonna work. Okay, here's one for all of you. We'll just go around here. Okay, and I think this round we're starting with Joe. Okay, a recent story said Wyoming may be entitled to receive up to $3.2 billion from the partisan infrastructure bill. What projects do the commissioner candidate believe Hot Springs County should apply for use of such infrastructure funds?
So really, I think you have to look at road and bridge, water, electrical, even phone nowadays, because phones are such a huge part of our life. People complain about going to this area and not have a phone service, or look at the canyon, for example. I don't think they have any phone service of any kind down in the canyon. So we have to make sure and look at what are the needs of our community and prioritize. Because if we have growth in certain areas of the community that they need water, then we got to work to get water out their direction. And road and bridge, looking at the structures of the bridges, are they in good condition? What's their lifespan? And which ones have higher priority and needing to be replaced because of their use level? Roads, so many county roads, some of, I don't even know how many of them are dirt road, in all honesty, but maintenance of the roads, even the dirt roads, is critical for people to get to and from town, for work, for business, for, just ag use. Semis going up and down these roads as well. It puts a lot of wear and tear, and we have to make sure that we're able to maintain those.
Thank you. Phil?
So I think Joe's idea of spending a large amount of money, one-time money, kind of things on infrastructure is super important. We've been working ever since I was elected 8 years ago on trying to find a way to rebuild the county portion of Black Mountain Road. We were working on that for 2 years before I was elected. So for 10 years, we've been trying to come up with some money to rebuild Black Mountain Road. We get some road money from YDOT every year to take care of our roads, as well as, we don't have $7 million, and we haven't had $7 million to work on this road. So after a bunch of grants and all kinds of things, we actually have a plan to redo 2/3 of Black Mountain Road of the county portion and keep it paved. We have an option of grinding it up, and because we can maintain it with a blade, but that's not an all-weather surface. So infrastructure is a really good idea. Road and bridge projects, water infrastructure projects, those one-time money stuff should be spent on something that's going to be here for a long time.
Thank you. Wow.
Well, I believe the primary issue, especially anybody living in town, knows about their water restrictions. I would say water would be the #1 issue in our community right now. And I don't know if the proposal by the water special board of putting a well out off of on your life site, or working on our own facility to enhance our own facility. I would say let's take the facility we have now, enhance it. Let's get the water where it needs to be for the community.
I agree. I think water is one of the most important infrastructure. And I think that's something we need to look at too with this money, this one-time money, is everybody has a complaint about how our water tastes. If you look at our old water lines in this town, you'll know why our water tastes that way. It's not because of what it comes out of a water plant, it's what's running through those water lines. Now, the city just did a redo on the street down here on Richards, and they replaced the water lines, sewer lines, and everything that was the infrastructure there, and then put new blacktop and stuff on top. Those are all brand new water lines. So if you go into town hall and go into the assistant to the mayor's office and look at those pipes, pieces of pipe he's got on the shelf, you'll know why our water tastes the way it does. It's not from what comes through the water plant. It's what runs through those pipes when you open your tap. So infrastructure is a big deal. That's something we need to take a look at with this one-time money and see if we can't do something with that. Now, I'm with Phil. I've lived here a long time, and Black Mountain Secondary has been a death trap. That needs to be fixed. And the only way we can do that is with this one-time money. Because you can't budget it, because we'd be budgeting forever to fix that road. So take some of this one-time money and fix that road. There's a lot of use up and down Black Mountain Secondary, as well as going to Grass Creek or Hamilton Dome. So those areas need to be looked at. So, and I think that's where some of that one-time money needs to go.
Thank you. All right, so I think we are just about out of time, but I do want to give you each 3 minutes in order to talk about, just give a campaign speech. Just tell us what's important to you. You got 3 minutes just to talk, or if you want to answer one of those questions that I asked earlier and elaborate a little harder on it. We will start with, I think it's Phil's turn to start, isn't it? Yes, Phil's turn.
So I think I have enjoyed being county commissioner, and I would like the opportunity again. I'm involved with the community. I own a business in town. We owned another business, my wife and I, and another young couple. We had the Kirby Creek Mercantile for a little bit. Starting a restaurant in the middle of COVID wasn't stellar timing. But if you've eaten at the One Eye Buffalo new restaurant, that was some of what we did as far as economic development with our own money in Thermopolis. Jen and Binky did a bunch of extra things, and they have an amazing, unique business as well. I own a business in town here. I get out, got around to all the rural areas delivering home residential propane, and really I connected mostly with the rural people when I first moved to town. And then I was involved with the the Chamber of Commerce on the board of directors of that for many years. I'm a Rotarian. It's a service organization, the largest service organization in the world. Thermopolis is an amazing Rotary club. Helped put on the PRCA rodeo for years. I was on that committee. Was part of the group that started the FFA alumni for Thermopolis. I'm very proud of that, as my kids are now in the Big Springs FFA and the Hot Thermopolis FFA. And I'm available. My office is at 527 Warren Street, or I'm driving a big blue truck. It's got my name on the side, Tumbleweed Propane. If you got something to talk to me about, just stop by, wave me down. I will be more than happy to take some time to converse with you folks. I like this job. I like to represent people. Like I said, I love this community, and I want to continue to make it the best place to live, work, and play.
Wow.
Okay, well, I've been in the community now for about 12 years. Moved here and I worked in Portland as a human resource manager, retired from that position. And I spend a tremendous amount of time right now working with children, with kids. That's my love, is working with the kids. I'm really concerned about their future. I'm concerned about this town, concerned about what do the kids do when they graduate high school. Do they all leave, or are they going to stick around? Are we going to have a business or a future for them in our community? And that's why I want to be involved as a county commissioner. I also am on the Predator Management Board in the county, been on that for quite a few years. I am currently the state committeeman for the Republican Party, and I've been very involved with the Republican Party for quite a long time. I'm a little more vocal than I probably should be when going after school board issues, but once again, like I say, my love is for the children, and if I believe I'm fighting for the children, there's no stopping me. So that's who I am.
Mike?
I'm a Wyoming native. I've spent 50 years of my life in Thermopolis supporting this community. When I was in high school, I came to Thermopolis to the rodeos when I was in high school. And I told my mother then, when I was in high school, that I'm going to move to Thermopolis, and I'm staying in Thermopolis for the rest of my life and for eternity. And when I said that, I told her, I said, because I'm going to support Thermopolis, because Thermopolis is going to be home. I came here to first guard the bank, First National Bank, after it was robbed and the bank burned down here on the corner where the Bicentennial Park is. And then I guarded First National Bank until I was hired onto the police department. And then I spent 43 years in law enforcement here, serving this community. I'm also on the board at Senior Citizen Housing and Canyon Village over in East Thermopolis. I'm on the Golden Age board at the Senior Citizen Center. I was on the original board that moved our mental health center where it is now. We started out in a little building over here on Broadway, then it moved to an old bar that they remodeled, and it moved to a house on Warren Street, and then we built the new building down here. I was part of that. I was part of the committees that was for remodeling and construction of our new high school and our new middle school. I was a part of all of those committees. And this committee has given to me, and I want to give back. That's in my blood. My dad was the same way. And when he started something, he finished it. And to me, you know, I'm getting up there in age, but like a lot of us are, but you know, I'm not done giving yet. I'm not done giving yet. And I want to continue to give till I can't give anymore. This community, I love this community. I love the people in this community, and I always have. That's why I made Thermopolis my home. We raised our girls here. I met my wife here. We raised our girls here, and we intend to stay here.
Joe?
Again, thank you for coming out. You know, and really most importantly, I really got to thank God for everything that He's given me. I've got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, you know, live in a wonderful community. So, you know, most importantly, thanks to Him. You know, I do think that there are some things that I want to kind of focus on a little bit as your commissioner. We have an old airport that is not getting utilized, and you know, there's been conversations on what to do with it, on whether or not to build a hotel or a resort or something up there that can be utilized for those purposes, which we need hotel rooms in this town, absolutely. Other things, selling the property, you know, it's something that's just sitting up there, it's not getting really utilized, and it needs to be utilized. Or we just need to get rid of it, one of the two. You know, the landfill that was mentioned earlier, you know, when you have a limited lifespan on your current landfill, I mean, it was brought up several years ago that, you know, the lifespan was running out, they were given a timeline and, you know, had to move forward with getting a new landfill. Of course, that's not really on the commissioners, that's on the town. But the commissioners need to work with the city in order to move forward with that and do what's best for our community, and seeing what our options really are. And there was a period of time there where the commissioners were not working or coming to the table with our council, city council, in order to really make sure that they were doing what was best for the community. The commissioners do give money to the town for the use of the landfill, and you know, I think that's something that they need to be involved in quite a bit. Fairgrounds, we have facilities that are degrading. They're old buildings. The main building, you know, that the community uses has roof leaks, and they've been working for over 5 years to try and get those roof leaks fixed. And you know, anybody who goes in and uses the facility shouldn't have to sign a waiver that they know that there's leaky roofs, and you know, to make sure that you don't set things in certain locations. Those fair buildings bring a lot of, the grounds themselves bring business into Thermopolis that can help us and actually help other businesses throughout the winter months. And you know, we gotta make sure we maintain those, provide the best facilities that we can so that people wanna continue to come into this community for their various events, because it's a nice draw. And we need a safe community for our kids. There's drugs in our community that really need more attention, and you know, I think it needs to be taken care of.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so we have 2 more questions from the audience that I think we do have time for. We have 5 minutes, but these are both just for Phil. So, no, that was one of the options, is that when we put this as, are they for a particular candidate? So that's why I pushed them off to the end, was so that, but anyway, we do have 5 minutes to answer them, so. Did you ever communicate with anyone about taking Save the Teepees down on personal property?
Yes.
And there's the second question. Have you ever voted in opposition to Mr. Tom Ryan since the shooting complex failed and the state park is getting the convention center? What business has expressed an interest in the old airport property? So there's currently 2 questions. Have you ever voted against Tom, in opposition to Tom Ryan, and then what's gonna happen with the old airport property?
So in relation to the first one, I am my own man. I don't do everything that the chairman recommends. I was chairman for a couple of years in the last 8 years. So I did vote. I do vote against Tom Ryan occasionally. And as far as what's going on at the old airport property, Commissioner Galovich, Commissioner Ryan, Connie Guntley, we wrote a business council grant. We were awarded $1.3 million from the Wyoming Business Council to do some, add some infrastructure and grind up the asphalt on the old runway. We're going to use that asphalt to help rebuild Black Mountain Road, so that's a win-win. We have applied with YDOT and it's approved to build a new access road, so the only way up there isn't up the switchbacks of death straight north of town. Because the shooting sports complex didn't make, Thermopolis wrote a great plan for that, but it didn't make the top 3 cut or whatever. That was going to be included in our proposal, was use of the airport for the shooting complex. The task force at the state level decided not to place that here. So along with that $1.3 million of business grant money, they offered us another $50,000 to do a feasibility study to help us determine what might be the best thing here. Joe mentioned that a motel or convention center is something that we have kicked around. Motel rooms are needed. I am super excited about the new things coming to the state park. In that regard, thanks a lot to the legislators. We are rolling out RFPs for consultants to do the feasibility study on the old airport property. And soon Road and Bridge will be building the new access road so that we can get the material ground up into Black Mountain Road. And after the feasibility study, we intend to hire some kind of marketing company to help advertise that is either for sale or for lease. As I think it's one of the most amazing, pristine parts of the county, and it's just a quarter of a mile right there. I think we definitely have plans. Something awesome is going to be happening there, but it's public money, so it's not like we're just going to throw a little here and throw a little here. We're doing a feasibility study and then hiring some marketing consultants to help us come up with the highest and best use.
Thank you. All right, you guys, well, tell them all thank you. We will take about a 10 to 15 minute break, and then we'll get started with the legislators. Be sure and grab some food, mingle, go to the bathroom, stretch, and then we'll get started with the Wait.
My name is Stevie Jealous, and I care a lot about this community. In regards to the Save the Teepees, I want all of you to know that your vote in November counts, and Phil Scheel's lied under oath.
Okay, so that's not okay, Stevie Ann. Sorry.